Welcome everyone to another episode of Price Targets with your host Bitcoin Jack. Welcome back. It's Sunday. We're going to be reviewing the Bitcoin price action over the weekend. Not much has happened, but there's a slight deviation on the lower time frames that we should be careful about. We're going to be looking at the S&P 500. We talked about it last week, and I just want to show where I expect this is going to be moving, and I think it will be influential on Bitcoin's price action too. We're going to talk about Litecoin for a little bit and ETH, and then I think it should be a pretty short video. Not much has happened, and first I want your attention for Prime. Prime, they're the sponsor of this video, making it all possible, so thank you very much, Prime. If you register with the link in the description below and use the promo code BitcoinJack, you will receive a 50% deposit bonus on your first deposit. There's some conditions that apply, so make sure you're aware of that. And yeah, once again, thank you, Prime. Let's dive in. The S&P 500 is at this pivotal level. The 14th of August is again pivot, where price is squared with the price that we had back in October 2020. That means that I usually expect this trend to finish and something new to happen. So it's been trending very slowly, but pretty straightforward. So I kind of expect the week to come for some volatility to occur. And obviously, if that is going to go to the upside, I do think that this range that it has traveled through is going to get doubled into Q1 of next year. So interesting times ahead. If this is going to go down, that may be negative for Bitcoin. So I think it's going to be an interesting week to keep an eye on this. Hopefully this can break to the upside and then start traveling in a different rhythm. Very difficult to talk sometimes. A different rhythm here, and then continue its upside, but probably a little bit stronger than the price action that we've seen in this range. Then Bitcoin, it's at resistance. It's been traveling through all these little small resistances up here. It's kind of hard to predict what's going to happen here, but there's this deviation if we zoom in on the lower time frames, which we will do in a little bit. That has me worried on the short term. So for me to start adding, I want to see this high broken. So I mean, the last couple of days, price has been breaking up and then retracing most of its gains and then pop up again. I don't think that rhythm is going to last much longer. So if this is going to go to these highs and break out of it again, I do think that it's going to be a bigger daily gainer than we've seen over the last week. So it's probably going to look more as an expansion like here. If not, I do expect Bitcoin to start retracing back into the level of the breakout. We're going to have a look at that too in a little bit. The resistance that we're dealing with Bitcoin, in my opinion, is between the monthly highest close in March, and then I think that the other side of the range is at 37k, which is the lowest close in May. And then the resistance we're talking about is the mid-range here. Okay. So if that does get claimed on a daily basis, I do expect that this is going to be our range. If not, I think we're going to be stuck in here for a little while longer. So if we grab the daily time frame, we see we had this little pop up here, which is now deviating, right? So that is a slight worry. For me to start playing short-term volatility to the upside, I want to see a break above these highs. And then this is our weekly range for next week. If not, there's a whole lot of levels that we go start testing to the downside. I'm going to go back to our original chart that we have been playing for all this time. But it makes sense that if this comes down, that it's at least gonna test the liquidity on the daily levels down here, potentially deeper. And obviously, the one level that hasn't been tested yet is, let's see, is this zone right here. So worst case scenario, if this doesn't manage to start claiming the levels again into the weekly open slash, first couple of days of the week, then I do think it's good to remain cautious and de-risk a little bit. You can see here that our 0.5 level that we drew off the monthly levels is pretty neat, pretty accurately aligned with the highs here. And then this pop, so if this is the deviation, then this now is bearish until it starts to claim it again. So hopefully that's not what's going to happen, but it's definitely a possibility that is what's going to happen. So if we grab the chart from last week, if we start claiming, this is what I expect the new range, the next range to become. So we're kind of, struggling around this 47 level. If it does go up, that's, the big resistance up here at 58, 59, 60, 61. If not, it's just going to retrace. And as we talked about, major important level last week is just below 40k. I want to see that respected on a weekly to even remotely stay on the bull side of things. And then the other thing, this has been quite a rally. Not a whole lot of corrections have been happening here. If this continues to the upside, there's, it's very likely that there's going to be a 20%, 25% correction eventually. So for me personally, as we go up, it's going to be time to de-risk. And even if it does continue past resistances and goes to all-time highs or whatever, this is, I have to start de-risking in this zone. If it goes past it, there's going to be at some point opportunities to get back on the train. But right now, it just, as we travel upwards here, this is a huge chunk of resistance. So de-risking, giving ourselves the opportunity to re-enter must price correct heavy, realizing any profit of the positions that we're building to the upside. And then, if it does travel through it, there's going to be a point where it's going to correct, and that's where we're going to, re-enter. So potentially you're selling early, maybe you're not, but eventually there's going to have to be some kind of a shakeout before any bull side continuation can happen. If at all, the bull cycle is going to continue, which at this point still remains unsure. I mean, it is my conviction that it's going to happen, but I never like to talk in absolutes. I think that's kind of it on the Bitcoin side of things. ETH on a daily, kind of still at support. Story remains the same. If this, let me remove this. If we lose this, I'm going to de-risk and wait if there's going to be some kind of action to reclaim it and maybe get back in. But now I'm holding to pretty much the same levels I talked about last week, this high and this high. And then if it does pop up here, that's going to be a place where I'm going to be de-risking and hopefully get a re-entry on orange. And then Litecoin started to move outside of the wedge that we talked about. I'm still kind of hoping it's going to retrace here, but this may just continue into green, where I'm going to be taking some kind of profit. And hopefully I do get a little bit more exposure, but this just looks like a great setup that I want to play. I think that's it. Short video for today, 10 minutes. Hope you liked it, and catch you next week.